Do not store up yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust consume, and where thieves break in and steal. But store up yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust consumes, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Word of God for the people of God.
Thanks be to God.
Now, I know you listen to those scriptures and you think, uh-oh. Plus the fact, if you've been here for the past 3 weeks and are aware that the sermon series is about God's call on our lives, then maybe you've been keeping up, because we've been dealing with call and the parts of the membership vow: prayers, presence, gifts, service, and witness. And since this is the third in that, you're thinking, oh, we've just landed on gifts. She's going to preach about money. Now, there are several pieces of good news in that department. First of all, yeah, I'm going to preach about gifts. But the first piece of good news is there's no pledge card at the end of this service. So you don't have to worry about that part. Now, if you haven't had a chance to fill out an estimated giving card, there are some pink ones on the information table. Help yourself if you need to do that after this service. The second piece of good news is the offering plate's already come by. So you've given your gift. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. The third piece of good news is it's not going to be me. I'm going to preach somebody else's sermon on money. All right, now that first slide. As soon as she finds it. Him. John Wesley lived in the 1700s, and he was the founder of what you and I now know as the Methodist movement, in particular the United Methodist Church. And John Wesley thought that our Christian life ought to touch every piece of our life, not just Sunday morning, but every day of the week, not just morning time, but all the time, and not just at church, but everywhere. Now, when you start to think like that, then something almost inevitably comes up. Because John Wesley discovered, just like Jesus discovered when he was preaching, that the number one competitor to God in our lives, whether we're talking about the 1st century, whether we're talking about the 18th century, or whether we're talking about the 21st century, the number one competitor to God has not changed. It's money. Sorry, that's just how it works. The number one competitor in our lives with God is money. And so we have to think about that periodically. Now, John Wesley thought about that a lot. Jesus certainly thought about it a lot. It turns out that if you read the Gospels carefully, Jesus talked more about money than he did anything else except the kingdom of God. And John Wesley finally picked up on that. After he'd been wrestling with his whole money business for a long time, he discovered, no wonder Jesus had to talk so much about this. Now, this has gotten really personal for me. I've been telling you for a few weeks now that my father has moved into a assisted living facility. And that means he's been downsizing. Well, while he's been downsizing, that means I've been upsizing. Just this week, I brought 2 carloads of stuff home from his house. It's supposed to go on the market Thursday, and you got time to, okay, we got to get everything out of here. So now I have brought home many, many carloads of stuff. And I said to Kevin one day, Kevin, we have a problem. He said, what's the problem? I said, well, Jesus had a lot to say about bringing possessions into your life like this, and none of it's good. Wesley had a lot to say about it too. And what John Wesley did was to develop 3 principles to deal with money. There are 3 principles that John Wesley developed for handling money. The first one, and somewhere there's that slide. Well, anyway, the first one is earn all you can. Earn all you can. Now, you have to understand, John Wesley was one of those excitable types. He got up at 4 o'clock every morning in order to spend 2 hours in prayer before he started his day. This Methodist pastor doesn't do that, at least not on purpose. But John Wesley was one of those go-getters. And my guess is that every moment of daylight, the man was working on something. He preached a lot. He not only preached on Sunday mornings, he preached during the weekdays. He didn't just preach in churches, he preached at the coal mines, he preached on mountaintops, he preached in the valleys, he preached everywhere. There was one time when the actual priest of the church wouldn't let him in, but his father was buried in the churchyard, so he went out and stood on his father's tomb in order to preach as the people were coming out of church. They got 2 sermons that day. But John Wesley was one of those go-getters. And he would have been one of those who would say, it is a good thing for us to have a second job. If you have a first job and you still have time, then a second job won't hurt you. Obviously, he didn't have some of the bosses we have today. But he's one of these that would say, I don't care if you're a professional and working, it will not hurt you to have a paper route. Now, having said all that, I do not know how much John Wesley paid attention to the 4th commandment. You remember the 4th commandment, don't you? 1 day a week, thou shalt not work. And I don't think John Wesley paid very much attention to that commandment. He fasted, but I don't think abstaining from food is the same thing as not working. So somewhere in there, I know there's got to be a balance. But what John Wesley was all about was earn all you can. He was not afraid of money. He liked money, and he thought that money was a good tool, and so he always told his Methodist people, you need to earn all you can. Now, the second part of his theology about money was you need to save all you can. Now, Wesley was one of those, of course, he got up at 4 in the morning. In England, during the winter, the sun comes up very late and goes down very early. So that if the man really was working from sunrise to sunset, he wasn't working more than 8 or 9 hours a day. At least during the winter time. But the man worked. And he spent very little money. He had 2 coats. And periodically he would have to buy a second coat because usually he wore out one, and when it just would not stay on his body anymore, then he would buy another coat. And that's all he did. He had 1 pair of shoes, and periodically he would change those out. But he owned very little because he was of the opinion you need to save all you can. Now, if this is beginning to sound familiar to you, you're going, wait a minute, where have I heard this before? You probably took Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University, didn't you? You see, Dave Ramsey has this same theology. Dave Ramsey, whether he knows it or not, is a good Wesleyan scholar in terms of how we're to deal with money. You earn all you can and then you save all you can. Jesus and Dave Ramsey would be in agreement. You do not need the latest model car, bright, shiny new, larger than any family you ever imagined having, that's a gas guzzler. He would be with Dave Ramsey on this. What you need to do is have a nice small used car from a reputable dealer that you pay a fair price for that gets some miles per gallon. What Dave Ramsey says, John Wesley would agree with. John Wesley would say, you don't need all that stuff. John Wesley never owned a jewel in his life. He owned a robe that he preached in, but periodically that had to be changed too. He was one of those, now he studied, he got up to pray at the beginning of the day, he studied at the end of the day, and he did use a candle, but he only used 1. And the moment he went to bed, he snuffed that out. Bedtime was early, so you could save the candle. You earn all you can, and then you save all you can. Now, Wesley was very worried about the people called Methodists. Because he knew the people called Methodists. He said, they're going to do this. It's going to be amazing. They're going to earn all they can, and then they're going to save all they can, and they are going to have wealth, and wealth is dangerous. Wealth is dangerous in terms of our relationship with God. And so John Wesley had a goal. His goal was to die broke. Because the third part of his theology about money was you give all you can. Wesley never passed a beggar that he didn't give something. Periodically, he had to change coats because he gave his coat away. You do not save all you can to go on vacation. You do not save all you can even to be comfortable in retirement. You save all you can so that you can give. That was the kicker in Wesley's theology. And his goal was to die broke. He almost accomplished it. He still owned a bed, he still owned one coat, and he had a few coins in his pocket. But that was it. He came very close to succeeding in his... He was one time on a stagecoach. He was traveling because he was going to a preaching engagement. And the stagecoach was held up. He was robbed. And so all of the people were turning out all their money and their jewels. And Wesley turned out his pocket and he had a few coins and he gave it to the robber and he said, "You didn't have to do this. I would have given it to you if you had asked." Wesley obviously never had a father who downsized. Because part of what I'm downsizing has to do with my family. And somewhere in there is a sense of responsibility. Okay, how much of this can I actually get rid of? And how much of it am I responsible to my nephews and to my scattered cousins so that the family will know the story of their ancestors? I'm dealing with a whole lot of family history and all this stuff that I'm downsizing. And I don't think Wesley had that. I don't think he had any sense of responsibility that the family story needed to be continued. So I've had to wrestle with Wesley's understanding of how I'm supposed to deal with my stuff. And when it comes to earn all I can, I have to wrestle with that too, as I'm sure you do. Because if you are here holding down one job and you don't really need another one to live, the thought of a second job, yeah. But what Wesley would urge us to do is to make sure that we report all that we make at tax time. He would not say save all you can by cheating. That's not his purpose. John Wesley was about honesty within our money. And the honesty was to be with ourselves. You will notice that neither Jesus nor Wesley necessarily purported that you need to give the money to the church. We want it, we can use it, sure. But giving is not about what the church needs. It's nice to have lights. Thank goodness the electricity's on today. It's nice to have warmth and air during the summer. It's nice to have all those things. But that's not why we give. Wesley understood that giving is a part of our spiritual lives and that wealth is dangerous. Jesus said you cannot serve two masters. You cannot serve both God and money. You've got to make a choice. And so Wesley's theology was that you use money. You don't let it use you. You earn all you can, and you save all you can, and then you give all you can. Now, our finance committee, and by that particularly Charmin Cummer and Rita Cleghorn, have been wrestling to put together a budget for 2017. And we think we finally have one that makes some sense. The first time we presented it, there were a lot of things that didn't make sense in it. So we went back and worked on it some more. And now we have a budget that we think makes sense. Now, if you're like I am, when you look at about 16 pages of numbers, your eyes start spinning in your head. You know? So what we have done is to condense it to one page, a so-called narrative budget. And if you would like to look at the narrative budget, it's out on the information table. and you take a copy with you. If you like your stuff electronic, you email me this week and I'll send it to you electronically. But when you look at the narrative budget, when you begin to do a little addition, you're going to discover something. You're going to discover that there's a gap between how much the Finance Committee is estimating we're going to bring in and how much we think we're going to spend this year. Now it turns out we've had that gap for several years, and this church has savings, so we keep pulling out savings. But maybe that narrative budget needs to function as a call. It's not just ministers who are called. It's not just church workers who are called. All of us are called by God. Our call comes from baptism, not from ordination. And all of us are called into ministry. And part of our ministry is through our giving. So if you pick up the narrative budget, you do a little bit of mathematics, you're going to go, oh, and maybe it ought to serve as a call, a reminder that we are the people called Methodists. And John Wesley has a plan about that. That we are to earn all we can. And that we are to save all we can. And that we are to give all we can. Because we are called. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.